We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use the box at sign up for 10 points. And here we go.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Teeing Off, another great show on the Sports Box Network. I am one of your hosts tonight, Hamilton Mike Galletta. And of course, I'm joined by the golf pro at Trump International Golf Course, and that would be the one Dave Cartwright. Dave, what's up?
What's up, Sports Box Mike? Good evening, everyone. How's everyone feeling? Exciting couple weeks in golf here, Tour Championship, a major coming up here in a couple weeks, so all good stuff.
Yeah. So we will get to some great golf stuff today. We're going to talk about the BMW Championship, review the FedEx points, and talk about the upcoming Tour Championship. But first, make sure you are checking out the CrowdPlay app. You can pick it up in the Google Play and Apple App Store. Make sure you're downloading them and getting 10 and putting the box in the code and getting 10 points. It's a beautiful app. It's tough. Me and Brian talk about it all the time on our show. It's one tough app, Dave. I mean, I gotta tell you, I think I'm pretty coordinated. It's pretty rough.
Is it?
Yes. So, but it's fun.
Gotcha. Good.
So let's get to the BMW Championship. So we won't talk about the Northern Trust. I know we weren't on last week, Dave, so we won't even go backtrack. We're just moving everything forward, as they say. So the BMW Championship, you talk about a course like that, I didn't think was going to be that tough, to be honest with you. Matsuyama won it last year at -12. It just, these guys struggled, especially day three. It really, really struggled.
They did. So I not to, like I said, we're not, I guess, Northern Trust 2 weeks ago, but you go from a tournament that Dustin Johnson won at 30 under par. He shot 69. He shot 60 the one day. He shot 64 the next day. And then you fast forward a week, it just goes to your show. It shows you how, not important, but how much they, course setup goes into the scoring, and that they tighten up fairways, rough length, things like that. So you go from a 4 under where there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5 guys are under par. It was the highest to par aggregate in 20 years on the PGA Tour. So and just like you said, case in point, Olympia Fields hosted a U.S. Open 2003, I believe. Jim Furyk won it.
Yep.
And he shot 16 under. I mean, it was soft. It was, the fairways were receptive, greens were receptive, and you go from, the same golf course. I'm sure they added 300 or 400 yards to it, but a major setup and, basically a tour setup, and you're looking at a difference in about, 12 to 15 strokes.
So I'll ask you this, Dave, from you being on a golf course as much as you are. And I know a lot of the PGA events, these guys like to be, kind of held by the hand with their course. I mean, they want everything pristine. They want the fairways rolling. They want the pins set up nice for them because, I mean, obviously you want to see some scoring. You want to see the ball roll in the fairway. You want to see the 300-yard drive and all that good stuff. Was this course set up a little bit too tough for these guys? Because it seemed like when they were hitting greens, nothing was sticking. It was either hopping over the back or the false front was taking it right off the green, especially Tiger, and we'll get to him. But he was struggling with placement of the ball too. I mean, his ball was spinning every which way all over the green.
Yeah. No, I think, listen, they're professionals. They play golf for a living. These are the best in the world. Whereas it's set up too tough, I think the fairways were fair. They were firm. Rough was long. Were the greens too firm and unfair to an extent? I think they were. If you had a front flag, a front pin for some of these greens, you weren't even, getting within 25, 30 feet, let alone actually, keeping it on the green. So, yeah, I think the greens are a little too firm. And they're lightning fast. Listen, these guys can handle 15 stimp greens. It's not the speed of the greens. I think the firmness was a little too unfair personally.
Yeah. Question coming in from John Suggs. Being like Berger, Rahm, Wolf, someone who has let me down lately is Jason Day. Looks like this weekend was kicking everybody's butt. You know what, though? Jason Day, I'll tell you what. Jason Day, I thought, played pretty decent the last day 3 and 4. He actually, the last couple of events, he's been coming on a little bit. And I kind of counted Jason Day out a while ago, but he's been he's been really laughing at me and giving me some obscene finger gestures, I guess, because he's been playing pretty well of late, these last maybe 2 or 3 events.
He has, unfortunately, though, with a list of pretty elite list here of guys that didn't make the Tour Championship. Tiger's on that list, Jason Day, Louis Oosthuizen, guys that have been top 5 in the world aren't playing in the Tour Championship. So Matthew Wolff actually did not make it. So, I think the story of the Tour Championship is almost some of the guys that didn't make it there. Tiger's obviously not there. Rory's defending his crown there. So, Jason Day, a great PGA Championship, average playoffs. So a guy that just, has battled injury the last 2 years. And, is he ever going to get back that top 5 in the world, top 1 in the world? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah. And it's interesting you bring up Tiger, because I kind of overheard someone say, when Tiger didn't make the cut, or he didn't make the next Tour Championship.
Justin Thomas, after his excellent approach shot, ran all the way toward the back of the green for birdie.
Dude, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
That's right, folks. Tiger's not in next week's event. And I know the PGA is not happy about this. They were doing everything in their power to root for him, to try to get him to play really well. But you know what? Tiger struggled day 2, really struggled day 4, really fell back. But I think Tiger's MO is the last day. If he's not really, in striking distance, or he just really falls off the planet. It's just like a day out in the park for him. He really doesn't do anything the last day.
It looks like he went, case in point, 72, 71 on the weekend.
Yeah. Finished
tied for 51st, obviously nowhere near the top 30 as far as the Tour Championship and the FedEx Cup standings. So, the guy, again, he's played 7 events this year.
Yeah.
Just not enough. Just not enough competitive golf. And you can't replicate, and you say, well, the guy's won 72 Tour events, 12, 13 majors. The guy's, he doesn't need reps. He needs reps. He needs reps in competition, and, it's not necessarily the pressure, but it's just reps in competition. He's playing on different golf courses, different grasses, with different people. That's my take. So
I think with Tiger, it's kind of shifted from what we talked about before. I think Tiger's hitting it better off the tee than he actually was about 3-4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But on the sand, his short game has actually gotten better. But in the same, he is not putting anywhere near.
I know his putting is statistically bottom half of the tour, and Tiger was a top 10 guy, and you talk about a guy that you needed a 10-footer made. He's your guy. And he is not putting well, and I think that's one of probably 3 or 4 reasons. But I think the putting is where he needs to really evaluate and take a look at. So
and especially Dave, he is absolutely brutal inside of 5 feet. That is a range where if you're on the PGA Tour, you got to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, you got to be knocking down at least 65 to 70% of those. That's even probably low, but
yeah, exactly. I think you're over 50% or more than that, and to win tour events, you gotta be good inside 5 feet. As simple as that. Yeah.
So John Rahm is a guy that in the first day really didn't pay attention to at all. And nor should I. A guy shot 75 the first day, wasn't playing well, has that temper, didn't look like he was going to be able to hold it together. But you know what? In his defense, man, the second day he struggled, but he battled back for 71, mm-hmm. and then the last 2 days, that's 64 on the last day. He came charging out of the field. Out of no man's land to catch Johnson, and that was a nice playoff. The PGA's got to be happy with the BMW Championship with that playoff. Dustin Johnson, was hanging around all day, all tournament long. He was in that top 5 all year, all time, and I just thought he was going to start pulling away from the field too, to be honest, just like he did the week before in Northern Trust. But Dustin's like that. He gets those times where he can't pull away, and I don't know what's going on there, but.
Yeah, I think it's, honestly, I think a lot of it had to do with the golf course too, which was such a golf course, set up so tough that, it's one bad shot, one bad bounce, one bad, it was set up like US Open. It was. And that's kind of what the players were talking about. Obviously, the U.S. Open's a wing foot in 3 weeks here. And they said it was the U.S. Open setup, simple as that. And you make one bad swing, double bogey, triple bogey. So, I mean, listen, that being said, Dustin Johnson, 71, 69, 69, 67. John Rahm, 66, 64 on the weekend. I mean, incredible golf over the weekend, John Rahm, and hitting that bomb to win it. I mean, that's too good. It's just too good. I don't think Dustin Johnson lost. I think John Rahm won it. So
yeah, I don't think it's set up at all for Dustin, because Dustin's that kind of bomber guy.
Yeah,
I mean, he was pretty
played
accurate.
smart though. He played smart. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he was pretty accurate. Yeah. It wasn't the Dustin of old that he took a lot of chances like he did in Northern Trust. I don't think he felt, like you said, I think the setup really kind of scared him away. He was a little bit uncomfortable out there, but
yeah.
So you got to play, balls to the wall on courses like this. But a name we haven't heard of is Neiman. And probably 3-4 weeks ago, Joaquin Neiman, I really thought the kid was going to make a real charge this year. I really thought he was playing well. He was doing things right. He was learning about, different courses and all. And he's kind of struggled off and on this year, but I mean, his credit again, the last 2 days, 68, 67. Is this a guy we're going to see the rest of the year, be up there?
I think so. So a little background again, younger guy. He is, really young. He's only 21. So he won the, Latin American amateur that they created about 5-6 years ago. They played down in the Dominican. He won that when he was probably 16 or 17 years old. So the guy has had the pedigree. He's the real deal. He won at Greenbrier this year, tied for the BMW, tied for 5th at the RP Heritage. Again, one of those guys, he's got all the talent, he's got all the skill. Is this a guy that you're going to see win once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year? Yeah, absolutely. Is he going to be a major winner? I think he's a top 20 guy. But to answer your question, the guy, I didn't even realize it. But 21 years old, so his career's ahead of him. So
yeah, and question coming in from John Slugg's thoughts on Hughes. And I was just going to say that I think the PGA, if they're looking for any bright spots in the tour, you got guys like Mackenzie Hughes, you got guys like Brandon Todd, you got guys Matthew Fitzpatrick, you got Morikawa, you got these young guys coming up that maybe aren't like Tiger Woods, but you know what? They're good faces. They're good guys out there, and I think they're going to be up there a lot in these top 20, top 30 events. And it's good to have some fresh names up there. I mean, not that the older guys, the veterans, aren't good names to have, but I think it's a bright spot for the PGA with some some young faces coming up.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you saw the story. Mackenzie Hughes, a Canadian kid. So he was 32nd or 33rd coming into the week. Obviously top 30 make it to Tour Championship. So he had a 5-footer kind of sidewinder down the hill on 18 to make it to the Tour Championship, to finish 30th and squeeze in there and drains in. That gets him. Listen, you talk about, obviously the dollars and cents just for the BMW, but that gets some exemptions into the U.S. Open, into the tour card for a year. It gets them into the Tournament of Champions. It basically was, in so many words, it's a $2 or $3 million putt, because it just opened up, his schedule for the next 18 to 24 months. So not only was it, monetarily successful for that tournament, and then that's automatic paycheck next week, the Tour Championship, which I think they get about $300,000 for showing up there. But after that, I think that's it's a bigger putt. It was the biggest 5-foot putt of his life. So
of course our one of our main producers here, Brian the Ranger Retard, wants to know: do you think the Flyers will have trouble booking tee times after they leave the bubble early this week? Well, listen, the Flyers have trouble. Not going deep into hockey. I will tell you, I'm still waiting for my response for Claude Giroux on the side of a milk cart, and he's like nowhere to be found in JVR. And Kevin Hayes, the guys they've run in to score aren't scoring, and they're getting scoring out of 4th line guys. That's not going to move you out of this round that they're in. So yeah, they're in trouble. Can they win the series? It's going to be tough, but anything's possible. I just think they're up against the wall, and they're in a lot of trouble with a defensive team like the Islanders are. So
yeah. Yep, they're certainly having trouble scoring goals, and I think a lot has to do with the Islanders system. Yeah. But yeah, it's, as you said, their first line guys have have not stepped up to the ice here. So
yeah. So Matsuyama, again, another guy was up there most of the weekend, kind of stumbled day two, a little bit with the 73, but 69 came back a little bit. So, all these guys are in. Tony Finau, Jason Kokrak, nice showing, up 24 spots. Matthew Fitzpatrick, another guy that you don't really hear a lot about, but he's been playing pretty well. Brandon Todd. Just going through the list here. Patrick Cantlay, another guy who I like in DraftKings all the time.
Yep.
Patrick Cantlay. He's a guy you can't go wrong with. He's always there at the last day, whether it's top 15, top 20. He's always up there. And another young guy coming up into the ranks. Like I said, I'm excited, Dave, with this young class they have coming up. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a golfer like yourself, and I like watching it and seeing all these guys week after week after week. But I think it's kind of a bright future for the PGA.
It is, and and you're not going to. And I think it's a result of a couple things. You're not going to see another Tiger Woods, maybe ever. I'm not saying I shouldn't say ever, but I don't think you'll see a Tiger Woods for the next 20 years or so, because someone like Justin Thomas is a phenomenal golfer, but you have Dustin Johnson. You have guys like you were saying, John Rahm. You have Morikawa. You got Matt Wolff. I mean, there's so many. There's 10 or 15 guys that can dominate an event each week and have a chance to win a major, realistically. So, I think the competition level on the tour right now is phenomenal, which is good and bad. I think you're going to have a mix of a lot of guys winning events. Dustin Johnson, you see, he may dominate for 2 or 3 weeks, but then the field's going to catch up with him. So it is exciting. And I don't think, I guess, listen, Tiger Woods is a anomaly. You're not going to see that for the next 20, 25 years, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, one guy who didn't really didn't play well, but unfortunately we don't have any highlights from it. But I can tell you just in a nutshell how his day went.
Justin Thomas, after his excellent approach shot, ran all the way toward the back of the green for birdie.
Dude, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Well,
that sounds like
pretty much sums it up for Justin Thomas.
Yeah,
Justin Thomas,
exactly.
That day two was a horror story. I mean,
we all know those putts, don't we?
Oh,
too well. Yeah,
more than often. If you saw day two of Justin Thomas, you just wanted to throw up because he had it going on for a day and a half, and then I say a day and a half, and then after that, somebody just shoved him off the cliff because he just double bogey. I think he dropped 4 strokes in 5 holes. He was just he was off the rails after that. I don't know who is Justin Thomas is when he's on, he's rock solid. When he's off, he's awful. And a guy who's been awful all year is Jordan Spieth. Now, what has happened to Jordan Spieth? This guy was supposedly the next coming, and 2-3 years ago he was winning event after event. And maybe he can match Tiger and all. He is nowhere to be found. This guy. He's been working on putters. We've been firing caddies. I don't know what's going on with Jordan Spieth anymore.
Yeah, I don't think he does. That's a problem. It's and he's a guy you look at it, obviously has all the talent, won majors, he was, as you said, he was en route to be the next Tiger, and that, that's probably overstating it a little bit, but listen, the guy's ball striking numbers and stats are way down. Putting stats, was certainly probably the best putter on tour, I thought, for those 2 or 3 years when he's winning everything. Putting stats are down, and his ball striking, especially off the tee, is just horrendous, just absolutely horrendous. So, what happens? He's a guy. He's sort of, he's very hard on himself, and I think he tries to tinker with his swing a lot, and he has to answer your question. I don't know what the answer is. I would say he's a little bit of a slump, but there's been an 18-month to 2-year, 24-month slump, and guys that good aren't in slumps for 2 years.
So with that, next week's tour, I believe it's East Bay, or East Lake?
East Lake in Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah. It's nice course. Should be a nice challenge for these guys at the Tour Championship. But we had talked briefly on it before the show, and I think we talked about it the last year when they brought this whole out, that I'm not, at least I am. I don't think you are. I'm not a big fan of this whole setup that they have here. I know that FedEx put a lot of money into it, and you got to appease them. You got to kind of cater to them a little bit and put something new in. But I don't like that Dustin Johnson, is already starting off with a minus 10 under par already. And, John Rahm is -8 and Justin Thomas -7. Because, I mean, these guys would really have to fall off for anybody to, in my mind, just to catch them or make it a close race. That's just me. I don't know about you, Dave. I just don't like the setup at all.
Yeah, I they've tinkered with it basically since the FedEx Cup is, again, what's it been, about 10 or 15 years of the FedEx Cup year. And they sort of tinkered with the points, and you basically had to be have a PhD in mathematics to figure out the
Exactly.
the scoring system and the handicap. So, what they've done was they simplified it. Do I agree with it? I think, Mike, you and I are on the same page. What it is, the leader starts at -10, the next time -9, -8, also for 5 strokes. So I think it's the simplest way to do it. It makes the most sense to the fans and to the audience. Is it the fairest? Absolutely not. It is. It certainly is not. Yeah.
And again, I guess it's going back to being a true golf guy like myself, like you are too, that it's not really their score. It's more fabricated, like if Dustin Johnson wins the whole thing at, say, I don't know,
-20 under, right,
-7. He didn't start there.
Right.
He didn't get up to -7. He kind of fell back a little. He still won the tour. I don't know. I just, maybe they'll see after a couple of years or whatever. Maybe people aren't going to like it and not a big fans of it, like some, I guess, people are. But I'm not a big fan at all. I just don't think it's a true number. So, what do you think of Bryson DeChambeau? Do you think he can make some noise in this tournament, or do you think he's going to have another up and down round like he's had the last couple times out?
You know what? It's a good question. It is a big golf course. When I say big golf course, it's 7,300 yards. Yeah. Bermuda, down in Georgia, in Atlanta. Not necessarily big fairways, but bigger greens. Rough is usually up, but just bigger fairways. He's 7th in fantasy rankings going into the week. He's going to start at 4 under. Yep. 6 strokes behind Dustin. To answer your question, I don't see him winning it. Is he a top 5 guy? Lock it in. He's a top 5 guy. I don't see him winning it, and just simply because Dustin Johnson and John Rahm are playing such good golf. It's just as simple as that. So
we got some time. Well, we got a little bit of time, but who do you think can really who can really catch Dustin in this event? That's pretty much what it's coming down to. Really, Dustin has to play average, somebody's got to really tear it up. So who do you think could really, in this field we got coming out, who do you think could tear it up and catch him?
So you have, like I say, he's 10 under. A guy,
John Rahm -8. We got
-8. Yep. Justin Thomas is 7 under.
Yep.
Kind of an interesting note here. Webb Simpson took the week off.
Yep.
A playoff event, took it off, and he technically only lost 1 stroke. He would have been 7 under as opposed to 6 under. So you look at it, he sat out the week, rested, recharged. Is that the right move? I tell you what, if you told me I'm losing 1 stroke and I get the week off, I get to go home, I get to practice, see my family, I think sign me up. So Webb Simpson, I kind of second guessed his decision to do that. But long story short,
on the flip side of that, Dave, not to cut you off, I don't like that because
I don't either. I don't either. Why is it play? It's not playoffs, right?
Right, and he's taking up a spot that he could have to work for to move up 1 more or back 1, or a guy could pass him, and he's pretty much knew he was locked in there. So that's pretty much, like you said, why he took that week off, and that to me isn't worth it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he could probably get 5 or 6 rounds in back at his home course or a different course, and just keep playing and playing. But like I said, it's this FedEx playoffs. I don't think you do that. I don't think it should be right.
I agree with you, and kind of answering your question, I like Webb Simpson, a guy that sounds crazy. He took the week off, and I disagree with you 100%. I mean, I agree with you 100% and disagree with the format, because if it truly is playoffs, how can you skip a playoff event and be right there, top 5, top 4 in the event the next week? So
and I had 2 guys coming into this, kind of dark horses. Morikawa, we talked about, played really well and was. I just like him because he's solid in the way of the nerves. It's just, he might not be the biggest hitter out there, and
he's not
the best player out there, but the kid does not get rattled even a little bit. So that's what I think I was going to take, but I'm going to get away from him. And I also like this year, believe it or not, Harris English, because there's a guy I always take in DraftKings who's having a really solid year, but I just don't think it's I mean, this is a tour championship. This is something he'd really have to step up for, and he's 6 back already. I mean, you're chasing Dustin Johnson. I just don't think he's got it to chase. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I know I trashed him, and we got a great take on him or a great cut on him, but I'm going to take Justin Thomas. I think Justin, if he puts it together and can get out of the gate early, he could definitely get Dustin, because I don't think Dustin is going to have 4 good days. I don't think he's going to, because like I said, I mean, he was hanging around the top 5, all the BMW Championship with a chance to pull away, and never did. So that's the Dustin I know. He can't. The only time he pulled away was the Northern Trust, and that was like double digits. But I don't think he could do it this time again. Dustin pull away. I think if anybody, Justin Thomas can catch him. So I'm going to take Justin Thomas. What about your dark horse? What do you have for a dark horse?
I like. I'm going to go a guy that's, you're going to say, who the heck is it? Brendan Todd. So
no,
I mean, he's 10th in the fantasy ranking, starting at 3 under. The guy's won twice on tour this year. I think he has more top 10s than anybody else. He's a top 8 at the BMW, led the fields in stroke game putting. So the guy can just simply flat out putt. 3 under. Listen, he's not going to win the tournament 7 strokes back, but lock him in for a top 5.
Yeah, and I
listen, like you're saying a dark horse, the guy that won 2 tour events this year, but nobody's ever heard of him. So he's had a hell of a year. So yeah, exactly. So
and I like that pick. I was looking at him as well, but I'm going to go a little bit. I think even though I'm moving up, it's going to be a little bit more of a darker horse. I think I'm going to go with that Daniel Berger. Here's a guy in the beginning of the year won the first tournament back from the COVID, and people were talking, oh man, that's he's been up there, but he hasn't really, I think, played to his potential. Can he get up there? He could. He's got to play a perfect 4 days. But he's proven he can rise to the occasion. He can get up there. I'll take him as a dark horse. I think at -4 and plus 2,100. I think that's decent odds. It's not bad.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Yep.
Yeah. So that's really it. Dave, that's another man. I tell you, we get rolling. We half hour goes by like nobody's business. So let's
knocked it out. That was good.
Yeah, let's see. We got John Suggs here. What do you think Woods' problem? Way he is swinging, or you think something else is maybe back? No, I don't think it's the injuries. I think you hit on the head, Dave. I think it's not the reps. And I just think his putting has gone away from him. He's not the same putter he once was. He was knocking down 30, 40 footers like, he would knock down 2 or 3 a match, but he's not even hitting the 5 footers now.
Yeah, I mean, you sit there and say, and you don't really know this, but there's injuries, or he can't practice as much as he'd like to, or get the reps in like he was, like he wants or used to, for that matter. And I think based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like he's healthy enough, to get the reps. And I would just like to see more tournament play. That would be the first thing. Like we talked about this earlier, and then. His putting is just not good enough. It's not good enough to win events. No. Simple as that. I don't care what level, how well you hit the ball. When Tiger's putting stats were always top 10 when he was, when he was winning all these events. So putting and reps. Yep.
And John says his swings are not consistent. He's hitting high next and he hits low ball. Well, I think that when you see that late in a round or in a certain day, I think that's impressive. I really do. I think that's. Tiger knows that he's off, and he's got it together in the way of the mental side of it. But when he's off, he's not the old Tiger, and he's trying to get back to that old Tiger. And I think he just tries a little bit too hard to make those impossible shots he did about 6-7 years ago. And that's what you're seeing the inconsistent swings are. He just presses hard.
Absolutely, and I agree with you 100%. He's making loose swings because he doesn't trust the putter anymore. So he's grinding, he's pushing, he's trying to hit, perfect shots. And in golf, you're not hitting perfect shots every single time. I don't care if you're Tiger Woods or not. So, I think it's just like you said, he's pressing, trying to hit perfect shots because he knows if he misses a green or if he's outside 15 feet, he's not making the putt. So,
yep. No, I agree with you. So like we said, another half hour gone by. It's been phenomenal, Dave, as usual. But before we get out of here, we want to mention that about crowd play. You got to download the app in the Google Play store if you need to, and Apple App Store. When you sign up, put in the box in the box there for sign up. You'll get 10 free points. You're going to need them because it's a little bit tricky. So, but if you don't know what we're talking about, check this out. Crowd play. So always great. So Dave, like I said, always a pleasure. It's always a good time talking golf with Dave on Mondays. So we will be back next Monday, 8:30 to wrap up the Tour Championship. Should be good. We got Winged Foot in 2 weeks. Looking forward to another major. It's always beautiful. They're late in the year now, but I love talking about them. So, of course, for myself, Hamilton Mike Galletta, and the golf pro at Trump International Golf Course, Dave Cartwright. Thank you very much for watching Teen Off. We will see you next week.
Thank you for watching the Sports Box. Follow us on Facebook at Sports Box Show, Twitter at Sports Box Show, Instagram at The Sports Box Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 points. See you next time.